7 kilograms of lean tissue gained in just 13 weeks by one of my athletes on the longevity program earlier this year. In this video, I'm going to take you through the exact process from start to finish. For those of you that are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Paul Green and I run the longevity program, which is a strength conditioning service for men over the age of 40 from all different extreme sporting backgrounds. If that's something you're interested in, treat yourself. The links are on my channel. The plan for this lecture is how this happened from start to finish, starting from the pre-programming discussion, the initial training plan, when to make changes to the initial training program, if necessary at all, the meal plan, and when to make changes with the meal plan. So if that sounds like something that you would find useful, then this video, I will try my best to get it done within about 20 minutes, but there's a lot to get through, so please stick around if you are interested in gaining some lean tissue. Right, so this important discussion happened about 4 months ago, maybe just over 4 months ago, and he is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu head coach. He runs a gym in London and he coaches 10 hours a day, and he was currently at 91 kilos at the start of his training block, which is at the bottom of the heavyweight division in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. His goal was to sit comfortably at the top of the weight class of the heavyweight division, which means 90, 99, and 100 kilos around that area. And we had a discussion straight after that, which was, I hope you do not want to achieve that weight with dirty eating methods, because that's not how we do things on the longevity program. After a bit of a back and forth, he agreed the best route forward for him would be to do this in a relatively healthy manner. So then the agreement was made, the goal was set, and then he sent me his current pictures. From there, I needed to find out what gym access he had available to him, whether he was training at home, whether he was training in a gym, and how many slots he had available to actually weightlift, given his busy schedule, his kids, his family life. And to be honest, I was expecting, some injuries, some sort of niggles, joint issues to come around. However, there wasn't. So he was literally ready to start and ready to absorb the training in its full effect. When I asked him about this, he said the only issue that he has with weightlifting is that he is blind. And I thought to myself, right, okay, absolutely no worries whatsoever, because I genuinely believe I can train anybody. Whether they can see or not is not really an issue to me, and I will do my best to support any sort of issues that he would have through this process. So, without getting into the intricacies of how we communicate and stuff like that, I'm just going to give you the fundamentals of the process, as I say, from start to finish. We put the phone down at this point, and then I went away and created a training program based off this information, created a meal plan based off this information. And we started with, because he was doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, he's running a gym, running a business, 10 hours plus a week coaching, which is a very demanding sport. Especially his gym is a very high intensity gym, very competitive gym that crosses over a lot of MMA as well. The best approach for me to go forward with this, to ensure that he actually absorbed the weightlifting and the strength and got results without impeding on his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, was a 3-day training split. And I went with upper body, lower body, upper body. So day 1, upper, day 2, lower, and day 3 was upper. He had the autonomy and the independence to choose when they would slot in part of his week. You could make an argument for he could do lower body twice some weeks, and you could do upper body once that week as well. However, because he is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competitor and athlete, I went with the upper body focus, because I just believe there's a bit more priority, especially with the way he grapples, with that upper body strength as well. So that split was set in stone. It doesn't have to be set in stone with you, but for me, and for him, this did not change over the whole period of his training block with me. A very text-heavy slide. I'll break it all down for you nice and easy. Right? So, when I decided upper body, lower body, upper body, I then had to prescribe him the best exercises to ensure that he was not wasting any time whatsoever in the gym. I then quickly had to make sure his technique was on point to furthermore accelerate his muscle growth over, the shortest possible period I could, because that's just where I was earning my money in that regard. So the exercises in which I chose had, a science-backed approach. I was choosing exercises which I genuinely believe science says are the best for gaining muscle in those areas. Also, I had to choose, given his limitation, I had to choose exercises which didn't require too much stability. But the argument could be said for anybody with any muscle building goal should prioritize exercises that don't require stability. Because if an exercise requires stability, then it takes away the amount of activation you can put on the muscle, because there's always like a little bit of balance left and right, which is taking away some of the focus on just the simple part of the movement. So what you could say is he was kind of on an all singing and all dancing bodybuilding program. Now, if he had a little injury, little niggles to his elbows, his knees, there would have been rehab exercises involved in this, but it wasn't necessary. So as you can see, 2 hard sets. I had him training at 90 to 95% intensity on every single working set. And I just said, look, if you're doing these exercises once or twice a week, make sure they count. Dumbbell flat bench, incline chest press machine, chest dips, chin-ups, chest-assisted dumbbell row on a bench, lat pull-down, lateral shoulder raise, rear delt raises. And because he was working at such a high intensity in the gym, he had 3 minutes rest in between each set. And the way I usually work the sets when people are on a muscle building type of thing is I prescribe a top set where you will lift as heavy as possible for 6 to 10 repetitions, and then you'll have a 3 minutes rest. You will then drop the weight that you lift by 20%, and then try and get 10 to 15 repetitions for the same intensity, 90 to 95% intensity. Does that make sense? So with that was the upper body one. And then we go on to the lower body one. So leg press to start things off, 2 sets of that. Again, same rules, same intensity, same tempo. The tempo which I ran for this, because I'm not really seeing him in the gym prior, is I had him on 3-second eccentrics, 1 second pause at the bottom of the movement, and 1 second to return back to start position. Every repetition he'd done on my program was a 5-second repetition. He went into the Smith machine back squat, and I massively emphasised that range of motion, getting as far down as possible, is the gold standard. And to be honest, I'm a massive advocate of the Smith machine back squat. He went from that to hanging leg raises, jiu-jitsu, massively hip dominant. So I thought pack on some muscle on the hips as well. Leg curl machines, leg extension machines, hip abduction machines, hip adduction machines. And then we finished the lower with a little seated bicep curl, because we have to just do the arms as well. We have to think about how we can maximise every little bit of muscle that we can put on. So that's how the sessions ran for the whole 13 weeks, right? And he had the autonomy to go this session twice in a week, or this session twice in a week. So a 2 and a 1, or a 2 and a 1. However, the only time I had to rein him in was when he would then maybe sometimes do upper body on a Monday and upper body on a Wednesday. However, that didn't happen much because he's a mega intelligent bloke and he's very conscious of his recovery for his jiu-jitsu and maximising his recovery from his weightlifting sessions. So a little bit of detail there, but I had to get it out there because it's important stuff. Because his didn't change, I just thought, why wouldn't I just mention when would you change your training plan if necessary? So the reasons I've put on here, quick slide, just a quick overview, is if you had an injury, right, your training program may change at that moment onwards. You may choose to make exercises easier, which aggravate a certain joint. For example, if your gym access, the exercises and stuff, the equipment you have available, if your gym closes for renovations or whatever, then your training plan has to change for a certain period of time. If there's recent research showing better exercises, and I'm constantly looking at studies, I'm constantly looking at papers to see if I can make small changes to some of the guys' programming to make sure they're getting the best bang for their buck when they're in the gym. For example, little things like should they be doing an RDL with a barbell, or should they be doing an RDL on a Smith machine? Now, I've done some digging into this and I found out the Smith machine RDL is actually a little bit better because of the reasons I mentioned previously, which was if you can take stability out of the equation when you're trying to build muscle, it is an absolutely great thing to have in your arsenal to do. Now, when you start to build strength and you start to prioritise strength, then of course you need to start bringing in the requirement for stability, because then strength progresses, functional strength, blah, 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 and it starts becoming a little bit more sport specific. But for pure muscle building, pure weight gain, we can take all of that out of the equation and really get him hammering these muscles to the highest intensity, which is the requirement, the baseline requirement for building as much muscle as possible. Changes, right? The plan is the plan at the start, right? But it's very rare that a plan works and it's just plain sailing. A good coach knows when to make changes and when not to. And in this case, I knew, because he was getting the results, and he was gaining strength, I knew not to make a change with his training plan because it wasn't causing him too much dramas. He was able to absorb the training sessions. It fit into his day very well before he went back home to take his kids to school and stuff like that. It worked really well, and I didn't want to change something that was working really well. I'd recommend that you have that approach also. Too many times people change training plans for emotional reasons. If you stick to a training program for a long period of time, train fucking hard, it will serve you so well. And I think a lot of people change things too often. So now we're going to talk about the meal plan. I'm just going to move my face out of the way. The meal plan prescribed is obviously very important, right? And I utilise the calorie calculator to guide my numbers for the first week, or to then adjust when necessary. However, given the amount of variables at play doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, is he sparring? Is he just teaching? The numbers are just a guide, right? And you need to use them as a guide and use them as the guide only. So, yeah, I had that in my head at the start. I was like, look, these numbers are probably absolute bollocks. However, I need to go off something to start with. So what I did is I put his weight, I put his height, and I put his age into a calorie calculator and his current output. They formulate all that and give you a number based off how much he's training. And as you probably can guess, he is pretty much in the professional athlete category. so his calories started relatively high. However, given the fact that he hasn't been in the gym for years, and given the fact that he hasn't followed a meal plan for years, I started him I started him on the low side, and you'll see that in a sec. So the meal plans in which I prescribed must be extremely easy to prepare. Because he was blind, I couldn't have him weighing stuff out and just causing himself absolute hassle. So everything was tablespoon sizes or cup sizes with oats, rice, whatever. And it was like one large chicken breast, etc. And I'd communicate what that actually meant with him. So a lot of output, so a lot of food was required. With that, this is how it all played out. So just to highlight, right, the calorie calculator is a prediction. So don't get too spent up on what it says at the start. Having the ability to make the changes when you're not quite getting the results that you want is literally worth its weight in gold. I could literally give any of you a meal plan and a training plan now, and you get results for a couple of weeks. But a lot of people don't have the ability to make the changes and continue to get them results for months and months and years and years. Right, I started him on 3,500 calories at 91 kg, and there was two reasons. There was one reason for this, is the calorie calculator said 3,500 calories. Second reason was I didn't want to overload him with calories because I fully appreciate how hard it is to eat a lot of food. And I didn't want to add another one of them crazy things that would throw him off in the early stages. So I started him on the easier side. And I had it in my head. I was like, mate, it's going up. Don't you worry about it. It's going up. Just enjoy it while it lasts, right? So I did start him extremely conservatively. Like, you could argue I should have started him on 4,000 calories here, maybe even 4,500 calories here. I didn't do it because I just thought I want to see him moving in the gym. I want fundamentals, the technique all down, and I want to just see what happens with 3,500 calories given the demands of his jiu-jitsu. Is he teaching? Is he taking a step back? Or is he in the gym doing the hard miles with his students? I soon found out that the way he is putting in the work with his students day in, day out. He's the first one on the mat, he's the last one off the mat. So I adjusted the calories when I figured all that out. So, week 1, 3,500, and you see his weight at 91 kg. Week 2, his weight dropped slightly. Week 3, his weight went up a kilo, so I didn't make a change. Week 4, his weight went up again, so I didn't need to make any changes to the meal plan. Week 5, he maintained that weight of 92.5. Because of that, I was like, you know what? I'm going for it. I'm upping the calories. I made a massive change, right? And I said to him, I warned him during this, when he maintained, I was like, mate, this is going to be hard. This is going to be harder than training. Anyway, I revised his meal plan. The meal plan's on the next slide. I'll show you in a sec. And then his weight continued to go up. As you can see, week 6, 93.7. Week 7, 94. Week 8, 95. Week 9, 97. Week 10, 98. He maintained 98 again for another week. However, his pictures showed that he was packing on some decent muscle tissue. So then I kept the same calories again. Then he went up weight again to 99. He couldn't quite break 100 kilos on a morning, first thing on the morning. However, when he weighed himself later on in the day, full belly and that, he was breaking 100 kilos. However, he settled around 98 kilograms. So his meal plan at the end was this, and as you can see, it's a clean bulk, because it's not what we do. I am not an advocate of unhealthy methods to get somebody some numbers on a scale. It's not what we do, boys. So as you can see, big oats, banana, full fat milk, and you can see there's no measurements here. Everything's cups and half a bar of dark chocolate. Everything's really simple. There's smoothies, There's an omelette, dead easy, mix up the eggs, loves his eggs, tablespoons for measurements. So yeah, lots of food, and this is 5,000 calories. And he ran with that, obviously for the most part, and got to where he needs to be. It's really difficult to get this much food down your neck. Really, really difficult. Because when you wake up early in the morning, like he does, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, you cannot simply get out of bed and go and do an early training session fasted. You have to get this down your neck, even if you're not hungry. And then when you finish the gym, this is what you're eating: an omelette. Yeah, you're having a Huel shake with it. Like, you're not even hungry because you're still digesting this. And then a couple of hours after that, meat, rice and veg, like ground beef or chicken, white rice, olive oil. And then another big meal: salmon, rice, some veg. Then he's got peanut butter banana sandwich. He's got another Huel shake. And then he's got a smoothie. It's hard work, lads. Anyone that thinks cutting is easier than bulking is massively mistaken. So, hey. Fuck's sake, man. It was going so well. Right. When to make changes. This is the money maker, right? When the trend isn't going as you want it to, you need to make a change. Now, if the weight isn't going where you want it to, however, the photos are heading where you want them to, take weekly photos, then that's okay. Keep everything the same or make a tiny change. But if the weight doesn't go where you want it to, and the pictures show no improvements, then add calories, or maybe remove some cardio or steps. I could not do the removal of cardio because that was his job. He's the head coach of a gym. I couldn't remove his cardio because that's how he puts food on the table for his family. Do you know what I mean? Whereas you may be doing cardio or steps and you may be able to rein them back in. Does that make sense? It's just something that I didn't have the ability to tighten that screw. Right. While I'm here, I'm going to talk about clean versus dirty bulk. Clean does things in a healthy manner where physical and cognitive performance is prioritised as well as the weight gain. Dirty does not do things in a healthy manner, as the only thing that matters is the scale weight. We had the conversation. He said he's happy to do it the dirty way. I was like, mate, I'm not making people unhealthy. This is just not what I do on the longevity program. I was like, I can put muscle, I can guide you to a place where you can put muscle on your frame in a healthy manner, having lots of energy for the gym, lots of energy for recovery, and having lots of energy to think and perform as a friggin' man all day. But you just have to trust me on this meal plan, on this training plan, and fight all the demons that comes with all these sacrifices of trying this and trying to do this goal. So, yeah, clean bulk should be the only way you do it, I believe, unless you're an absolute lunatic. Dirty bulk doesn't actually care about performance in the gym. It's just eating shite, which causes a lot of degeneration, a lot of inflammation of the gut, absolute horrendous, inflammation of the joints. It's just not a good way to do business, gentlemen, and I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. And if you come to me with a dirty, healthy, approach, you will just get literally told, it's not what we do, I'm not doing it with you. If that's how you want to be trained, if that's how you want to be coached, then I don't really know anybody that does it that way, and I can't give you any advice, but it's not for me. So, yeah. Right, to wrap it up, boys, we're coming up to the 25-minute mark. I've done pretty well here. I've covered a lot. It's a lot harder to progressively eat more food for long periods of time than a lot of people give credit for. It's so much harder than simply being able to Simply being able to miss a meal on the morning and just drink your morning coffees is an absolute luxury. You can't do that. You cannot miss a meal. When you're not hungry, you cannot miss a meal. When you're bulking. It's horrible. It's hard. It's really, really difficult. So that's going to wrap it up, gentlemen. 91 kilos to 98 kilos in just 13 weeks of ferocious Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt grappling strength. Trust me, I've felt it. Misery. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Hopefully you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you tomorrow.